Initially released back in March of 2013 in closed beta, and sometime afterwards going into open beta for the whole world to see and play, Warframe has still been in open beta since then. It's been open beta for several years now. God, I can't believe it came out in 2013. It's really been that long. It's been 4 whole years, almost 5, since Warframe came out. And I can't believe it's still been in beta for that long. Sheesh!
Because the game's in perpetual beta.
However, over this long period of time Warframe has been out, the game has evolved substantially. It is a completely different game from back when it came out in 2013. While certain mechanics, ideas, aesthetics, and models are still in the game, almost everything else has been updated or changed, removed, added. It's been a fascinating experience to see how a video game develops over time.
I honestly do have to agree. Seeing how much the game has changed the past 4 years is actually a bit incredulous if you look back at how things used to be.
There's somewhat of a understandable reason why the developers DE have never taken Warframe out of beta. Why it's still technically in beta and why it's been in beta for so long. It's still got issues, technical and mechanical. Over time, they are addressed, they are changed, they are fixed. Unfortunately, every once in a while, new issues are implemented with the implementation of new content. However, I wouldn't say there's anything in Warframe that's game-breaking, that makes the game unplayable in any sense of the word.
We have a mechanic in game that gives us randomly generated stats for a randomly generated weapon out of a randomly generated gun type that results in the mod being anywhere in between dog shit to god tier on the random spectrum. And you say you don't think there's anything game-breaking?
Developers of the game DE should be commended for the amazing work they've done on Warframe. How they've supported the community, how they've improved and grown and evolved the game. I mean, objectively, we can all agree that Warframe has its issues, but also objectively, Warframe isn't a bad video game whatsoever. And nothing that the game does and nothing that the developers have done have been warranted as insulting or heinous in any way. Just really petty annoyances and grievances.
Yes, Warframe does have its issues. But to say that DE can do no wrong is an absolute lie. DE fired the creator of most of our Warframe Deluxe skins because he disagreed on the design of Ember's Deluxe skin. DE threatened legal action against a 17-year-old on the basis of exploiters gaining access to Excalibur Umbra and Prime Streamline, despite the fact he had nothing to do with those exploits. DE made the chassis for Vauban Prime cost 14,000 fucking Oxium when he was released. Mag's rework. No, seriously, Mag's rework is enough to warrant a mention here. Despite Universal Vacuum being a highly requested addition, DE nerfed the range of Vacuum by over 50% and then gave the nerfed Vacuum to all Sentinels, continuing to ignore Cavots and Kubraus. They've reversed this nerf since then, but this just goes to show how DE can mishandle something as simple as asking for Universal Vacuum. Sending lawyers after a 17-year-old who has done no wrong isn't a petty annoyance, it's a laughably disgusting annoyance.
Like any or all video games have, like any or all video game communities have, or like any and all developers have. However, there is an issue with Warframe, an actual, real, legitimate problem. Unfortunately, it's a problem that the developers of the game will never be able to resolve. It's been a problem that's been mounting and growing in Warframe since its release, and that's with its growth in popularity comes the growth in toxicity in the community. It's sad to say, it's sad to see, but veterans of Warframe, those who have been playing the game since 2013 or 14, whether it be the longtime veteran players or the longtime YouTube Warframe veterans, it's unfortunate but true, but Warframe vets cannot be pleased anymore.
As a butt-crusty veteran of Warframe, I would say that the toxicity you're speaking of stems from players being ignored or disappointed. For example, when DE was making an augment for Ivara, they gave the Design Council a poll. Although the poll made it painfully obvious what the Design Council wanted as an augment, you know what DE gave out instead? Yeah. What an augment, am I right? For another example, look at how DE has handled Warframe reworks. Their insistence on adding synergy to a Warframe just makes things worse. Mag and Oberon are living proof that giving synergy to a Warframe can put them in a worse place than where they started. As another example, go back to Universal Vacuum. Players, both veterans as well as Warframe YouTubers have been asking for this for quite some time now. Have we received what we wanted yet? Obviously not, as we're still bitching about it now.
The individuals who have been playing Warframe for so many years have unfortunately grown sick of the game, but They have Stockholm Syndrome. They're addicted, despite them having so many issues, and these are issues that they've known and come into contact with and experienced through such extended play of the game.
Well yeah, veterans keep coming back. As someone who has quit and come back to the game, I can tell you right now that one of the reasons people come back to Warframe is because of how much time they've put in. For example, look at World of Warcraft. The reason why that game is still alive and kicking is because WoW is able to keep its players invested, like Warframe. It's because the player base is dedicated due to the amount of time they've invested to it. Nobody wants time they've invested in a game to have gone to waste, take it from me. If you yourself spent over 1,000 hours on a single game, would you be able to quit it and never come back without a second thought?
That to a new player, these issues are going to be either petty, maybe something they write off or forget about, but for a long-time Warframe player who's truly invested into the game, the small issues that a new player may not notice or may not realize till much later on have become huge issues to the vets. And unfortunately, the veteran players of Warframe who once adored the game and spoke nothing but positivity and praise about the game have become negative and vitriolic.
Obviously new players don't care about issues veterans have with the game. When you first start playing Warframe, you are just looking to have fun. You don't care about power creep, you don't care about losing access to vacuum with Cavots or coup brows, and you certainly don't care about how good your Warframe is. You are just looking to have pure, unadulterated fun. We've all been there before. The reason why we persistently call out DE on the most trivial of things, like universal vacuum, cough cough, is because we love the game and want it to be better.
But they won't stop playing Warframe and play anything else. Oh, they'll threaten not to play. But in the end, the words are hollow. All bark and no bite. Because whether they want to admit it or not, they're addicted to Warframe.
Yeah, we all voice displeasure about the game only to come back to it later even after claiming to quit. I've done it myself. But like I said earlier, it's difficult for a veteran to just say fuck this I'm done and never come back despite hundreds of hours played. Going back to the World of Warcraft example, think about how many of WoW's total player base are people that have been around for years. Do you think any of them could easily quit and never return despite having invested that much time?
And I'm not gonna lie, Warframe is a very easy game to get addicted to. It's got such solid gameplay. Fast, fluid, kinetic, versatile, brimming with options and variety in the enemies you fight, the weapons you use, and the Warframes you play with. There's a large variety of resources to grind for, to craft new items, upgrade a variety of items, and the list goes on and on.
Ignoring the grind, the core mechanics of Warframe are what make it fun. Other than guns, the duel, what other game can you think of that allows you to park around, shooting and stabbing at people all while controlling a ninja-like figure? We're also used to standard AAA games being first-person shooters or third-person RPGs. That a third-person game of this caliber and theme is a breath of fresh air, especially considering it's free to play.
Meanwhile, the developers' digital extremes really do their best to appease everyone.
Most of the time. DE do their best to appease everyone most of the time.
With constant additions to content, new Warframes, new weapons, buffs and nerfs every week, new tile sets, new maps, new levels to play on, new cosmetics and customization, and even a really solid attempt at legitimate storytelling and cinematics. Even though Warframe has come such a long way since launch, it's still brimming with potential for the future. And
the amount of content and support this game continues to receive despite being free to play truly is amazing, I'll give you that. It's even more amazing considering that big publishers expected Warframe to fail, according to DE's Steve.
When we first started the game, we didn't know if we needed a publisher, so we were kind of shopping the game around and we were showing them to publishers, some of them in the free-to-play space. And one of the biggest free-to-play publishers at the time from the other side of the world looked at the game and went, wow, this is gorgeous, everything's amazing, you guys will fail. And I went, and they said, you guys will make a beautiful game and you'll never update it. You won't be able to update it.
Even the Warframe vets know that because they've seen the game evolve, they've seen it change, they've seen it grow. Warframe really is, in many ways, a one-of-a-kind video game, a one-of-a-kind free-to-play game, which is why so many people love it, which is why so many people play it. But unfortunately, the people who have grown to hate it and keep playing it, and keep talking about it, and they keep fostering that insidious hate for it. The YouTubers, the Warframe YouTubers who have gotten sick and tired of Warframe, Warframe, who used to make nothing but positive content on the game, talking about how great it was, how great the gameplay was, the new weapons and Warframes and boss battles and levels, all this great stuff, how great Warframe used to be. Now all of a sudden their tone has changed. Everything sucks, everything's a problem, everything's unbalanced, everything needs fixing. And it's not because Warframe is legitimately all over broken or objectively bad in any sort of way. It's because of the addiction to the game, because of Stockholm Syndrome, that they've grown tired and sick of the experience, but it's all they know, it's all they've known for years, and they can't leave it.
As Warframe gets more popular and attracts more players, the criticism must increase as well in order to match it. As for the everything is broken and needs fixing mentality of a veteran, what else do you expect? We don't have an open world yet, so once you reach the point of a veteran where all of your weapons have the best builds, your Riven mods have great percentages, your focus tree is completed, and you've finished the star chart, what else is there to do besides nitpick the game? You yourself said, playing this game is all we know. On account of all the time we've played this game due to addiction. Some people complain it out of a sincere desire to improve the game, while others do it in order to demand more things to do. Content stagnation is a problem in Warframe because every mission is linear. Yeah, every planet has different tile sets to play around in, but at the end of the day, it's the same enter, do objective, extract, but with different objectives and different surroundings.
One part of that is, of course, for the game itself, but the other part is the views. If there's one thing I can say about the Warframe community that I think most people can agree on is that the Warframe community love their Warframe YouTube videos. The most viewed video on my channel with over 1 million views is a Warframe video. Granted, that video has not aged well. Looking back on it, I'm still proud of the effort and work I put into it, but goddamn, I could have done so much better in so many areas. And to this day, that video is still getting views. Warframe is a very viable, very successful game on YouTube. And the Warframe YouTubers, they realize this. It's been their gig, it's been their source of income for a while. So even though they're sick of Warframe, they want to play something else, they want to make videos of something else, but the thing about the Warframe community is that they're loyal to Warframe, not to the YouTuber. They're there for your Warframe videos and nothing else. And
I don't make Warframe videos for income, because YouTube isn't my job. For those content creators who do make Warframe videos for income, it's not because they're whoring out for views, it's because their job relies on the Warframe content they're known for. Take Mugamu as an example. The moment he took a break from Warframe and put out other videos, his views dropped hard. When he returned, the views normalized. Of course Warframe YouTubers have a sense of loyalty to Warframe, that's how they make their income.
Unfortunately, all the Warframe YouTubers have learned this the hard way in trying to expand and vary their YouTube content. They are met with little to no views. Like I said earlier, Warframe's a very addicted game, and the people who are addicted to it, they're really addicted to it. It's Warframe first, and every other video game, never.
Great, you understand the problem that people that rely on making Warframe videos for money have. I revoke my previous statements.
However, Warframe YouTubers, they've run out of shit to say about the game outside of the new content updates and the new Warframes and weapons to talk about, and those content updates can take 1 to 2 months. What do the Warframe YouTubers resort to? Drama. The Warframe YouTube community has now resorted to becoming a drama community. And it's unfortunate, it's really unfortunate that a game that these people were so passionate about and so positive about, that made them so happy, they've now resorted to anger and sadness.
What drama are you talking about? No, seriously, what drama? The last Warframe YouTuber drama that existed was back when Revkstev and Agagai Plays had a pissing contest that lasted until Revkstev was banned and eventually forgotten. The last Warframe drama that occurred was DE suing a 17-year-old due to exploits that he had nothing to do with. Honestly, what Warframe YouTuber lately has started drama of any kind?
This could have been avoided, but maybe that's me hoping for too much. And you know what the funny thing about all this is, all this negativity, all this drama, is really just concerning the Warframe vets and the Warframe YouTubers. Because newbies, new players getting into Warframe, this isn't an issue for them. Anyone just getting into Warframe right now and hears about this drama and what's going on with the Warframe YouTubers and their constant negativity and bickering and anger, to them they're gonna be like, what the hell? What the hell are they talking about? This game's awesome. It's free to play, it's got all this content, it's got AAA quality visuals and gameplay. What are they all angry about?
Well, obviously new players don't know about or give a shit about drama involving veterans. They're new players. They know better.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is a Warframe exclusive problem. This is a problem with quite a few video games, and right now I find it to be Warframe's major problem right now. Outside of the few technical issues, the bugs and glitches, and a few things concerning statistics and mechanics, which really aren't deal breakers or game breakers, especially for new players.
Warframe's biggest problem is not fabricated drama and negativity. Not by a long shot. When you talk to someone who has only heard of Warframe but not played it, they're likely to say, "Oh, I heard that it's fun but it has a lot of grind," because Warframe is synonymous with grinding, not toxicity. Nobody has ever said, "I don't play Warframe because the community's really bad." That's what you hear from League of Legends, not Warframe. To say that drama and negativity is Warframe's biggest problem is like saying that Team Fortress 2's biggest problem is its lack of customization. Also, the way you say there's nothing game-breaking in Warframe makes me think you haven't gotten to the retarded side of Riven mods.
However, when you play one video game for so long, for multiple years, without end, without changing it up, without varying it up, well yeah, no duh, you're gonna get sick and tired and maybe even grow to hate the video game that you once loved. Now,
why do veterans continue to play Warframe? Because the game is addicting. Why is the game addicting to veterans? Because of the amount of time they've already put in, as well as the fun factor the game provides. Why do veterans get tired despite still being addicted? Because the fun factor of the game does not hide the fact that once you reach the point of a veteran where you've seen, done, and acquired everything you want and need, the game becomes stale. There's a reason why Fashion Frame is endgame. It's because our last resort for something to do is making themselves look as dope as possible.
Now, how am I, as a Warframe veteran, because I've been playing the game since 2013, yet I'm still very positive, very happy, and still enjoying Warframe? How can that be? Keep in mind, I'm only speaking for myself, but I don't exclusively play Warframe. I haven't exclusively been playing Warframe. I don't just make YouTube videos. I haven't focused my channel on this one video game.
You don't play Warframe exclusively and you don't know why you're not negatively toxic like every other veteran. You just answered your own question.
I didn't want to. I don't want to limit myself and my YouTube channel. But in the end, that grind always rewards you with something of value, whether it be a new playable character, a Warframe, a new weapon, a new pet companion, and the list goes on and on and on of stuff to see and do in Warframe.
Grinding in Warframe does not always give you something of value. I'm honestly shocked to hear a veteran such as yourself say this. Grind is never completely fair, and it never has been. No, it's not because of luck, it's because of drop chances. Have an example. When Forma were first released, DE said the drop chances were 15%. Upon data mining, it was revealed the drop chance was actually 2.3%. Every veteran in Warframe has accepted the grind as what it is, more sacrifices to our Lord and Savior Arang Zeus. However, if you want a definitive example of how grinding does not always give you something of value, go farm some Kuva and re-roll any Riven mod you want, and keep track of how long it takes you to get stats that aren't horrible.
It really truly is a great video game. It's one of my favorites of all time, but it has an issue. The developers and the game simply cannot keep up with the Warframe veterans. They can't keep up with the veteran players, and they can't keep up with the YouTubers. Both of which who demand and somewhat require, because they've been playing the game for so long, a constant stream of new content, whereas a new player just getting into the game right now, it's going to be overwhelming for a brand new player. There's going to be so much content, so much stuff to see and do and progress and unlock.
There's a high demand for more content right now because the veteran player base wants more, either because everything else has already been completed for them, or because there's currently not enough. It is fairly evident that progress to make more things is slow, but that's more of a manpower problem than a demand problem. Depending on where you're getting your numbers, DE has either 170 employees or over 200. For comparison, the developers of the popular free-to-play game Path of Exile number at around 100 people.
If you've never played Warframe before, I highly recommend it. You're going to have a hell of a time. Like I said before, it is one of the best, if not the best, free-to-play game with the best value. And with the quality and quantity of its content, you'd confuse it for a AAA game. And that's kind of the problem with Warframe as well, is how Warframe has kind of spoiled its players. It's of such AAA quality. It does so much right that the things that it does wrong stick out and annoy and anger the veterans all the more. I feel sorry for Digital Extremes because there's nothing nothing they can do at this point, and it's a real shame that they have to go through all this crap with the new toxic fanatics within their community.
To say that there's nothing DE can do to please the players is a rather extreme point of view. I'll use Universal Vacuum as an example yet again. All DE has to do to make the players happy is actually listen to and work with player feedback in mind. Deliver non-outrageous content. Be transparent.
Those who really kinda hate the game, but they can't stop playing it because of Stockholm Syndrome and addiction, and now the constant influx of drama from their YouTubers and community members. But unfortunately, that's going to happen as the game's gotten more popular, as it's gotten bigger and bigger. Unfortunately, you're going to attract that kind of crowd. Just like games like Call of Duty, CSGO, Overwatch, the more popular the game gets, the more people you have playing it, the more and more toxicity and drama is going to come along with it. While
To put CSGO, Overwatch, and Warframe on the same level in terms of drama and toxicity is just absurd. CSGO has had big scandals from some of its professional players being caught cheating to its more recent and well-known gambling scandal. Overwatch's last scandals consisted of an in-game pose being changed because of SJW complaints that it sexualized Tracer, and an Overwatch YouTuber was falsely accused on Reddit of scamming a guy in a giveaway, leading to a typical Reddit bandwagon of pitchforks and torches that was eventually dispersed when the Overwatch YouTuber himself explained the accusation was nothing more than a karma whore attempt. Now what has Warframe had for a scandal that can even compare? The closest thing I myself can think of is that time a person actually snuck into the DE offices and leaked their in-progress game, Keystone.
again, there's no real solution. I can at least offer something. I can offer my opinion and perspective towards Warframe veteran players and the Warframe YouTubers, if you're listening. All I can say is, take a break. I know you've put in so many hours and effort into this game. I know, whether you want to admit it or not, this game has some significance towards you. But for the sake of your own mental and maybe even physical health, take a break.
I'll take it easy when I'm dead.
Play something else or stop playing altogether. Just continuing to play the game over and over again, get angry over and over again, yell and shout and insult over and over again isn't going to make Warframe magically better or the best game ever, fulfills all your needs. Don't you play video games for fun? Don't you play video games to have a positive experience, get some enjoyment? If Warframe is making you so miserable and angry, why are you playing it? If you stop playing it, it isn't going to go anywhere.
If anyone bothers to stick around with a game that's pissing them off, that goes to show that they've grown rather attached to the game. To stay despite being displeased isn't necessarily a sign of disgruntled fans, it's also an indication of fan dedication. As an example, look at how slowly Team Fortress 2 has received updates these past few years. Despite that, TF2 is still able to keep its players enough so it remains one of the most popular free-to-play games on Steam. This is because its players have grown to be fond of and attached to the game, not because they all explicitly demand content.
You take a break from it for a few months or hell, even a year. Wait for all the new content drops and bugs and fixes so that when you come back to Warframe, it's almost an entirely new experience all over again. That's one of the beautiful and unique things about Warframe. As for the YouTuber-specific side of things, all I can say to you is, guys, sooner or later you gotta admit to yourselves, this isn't sustainable. Eventually, you're going to hit an emotional or mental burnout. Or even, worst case scenario, and I really truly mean this when I say I don't want this to happen to you or anybody, all this drama that you're stirring up and blowing out of proportion because you've run dry on ideas to make for videos about this same video game over and over again is gonna come to bite you in the ass, whether it be legally, online, or even worst of all, in real life.
Warframe YouTubers running out of ideas isn't a universal problem. For those who only make one type of content, whether it be something like build videos or lore videos, yes, that's a problem. For those who make multiple types of content, this problem doesn't exist.
I'm just going to name off a few possibilities. Your anger and disdain towards the developer's digital extremes, eventually, you end up saying something you shouldn't have, and they can go after you legally for something such as slander, for example.
The only person that has possibly ever been punished for slander is Revkstev. Outside of that, nobody else has had slander charges put on them by DE. I myself have shit-talked DE countless times in the past, and despite that, I'm still a Warframe partner and I'm still here. DE's obviously not the kind of company that will be offended by criticism, The only times they'll actually go after someone for slander is if they're actively harassing the developers, whether it be on Twitter or on YouTube.
Now here's an example for consequences online. You accidentally piss off a crazy person, a die-hard Warframe lover, sees you said something about the game they don't like, or something about another YouTuber they didn't like, and they end up hacking you or doxing you, something horrible like that, and then, again, worst case scenario, you piss off a lunatic, someone who loves the game a bit too much, find out where you live, visit your house, leave a bag of flamin' poop at your doorstep. That's a real tame example I'm giving here.
Even though those situations are entirely hypothetical, they're still ludicrous. Is it entirely possible to have your account be hacked? Yes. Is it possible to be attacked IRL because you said Warframe was a bad game and somebody else was offended? No. Every Warframe veteran is a nerd to some extent. We're all indoctrinated to play Warframe. Do you really think anyone has the balls to actually go after somebody in real life purely over what happens on a computer screen? Of course not. We're all too busy farming to care or even bother.
What I'm saying is here, Warframe YouTube community, look at the other YouTube communities. Look how well drama has ended for so many other YouTubers. It always ends in disaster. I'm sure some of you Warframe YouTubers already know what I'm talking about. You've seen it happen before. So you can either stop now, just say screw it and move on, or you can wait till you hit rock bottom to learn the lesson.
I still honestly have no clue what you're talking about when you say Warframe YouTubers starting drama.
And if I'm not getting through, let me try one last time here. Warframe is never going to be a perfect video game. It's never going to be perfect. All of its issues are never going to be completely fixed or fine-tuned. It doesn't matter how angry you get, how much you insult the developers, Warframe is going to stay Warframe, with all its positives and negatives, with all of its quirks, annoyances, and charms. It may, most likely, reach some of the potential that it has in the future, but the laundry list of things you have organized in your head, of things you want changed or added, most likely the vast majority of that is never going to happen.
By saying that the laundry list of changes we want to see will never happen, you're effectively saying DE will never take player feedback into consideration while developing content. Are there some player-proposed changes that are ludicrous? Yes. However, not all fan requests are retarded unbalanced concepts. Some of them are well-known and wanted changes that still have not been introduced, like universal vacuum.
So, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep playing Warframe and be angry? Are you going to stop playing? Maybe play something else and find some happiness again? Are you going to take a break? Are you going to move on? Either way, it's up to you. Your choices and the consequences that come with them are on you.
Unless DE just completely worsens the game or stops listening to the players completely, it's unlikely that any veteran will stop playing Warframe indefinitely. There are many players that play Warframe on and off, and there are many players that play other games in addition to Warframe. Unless Warframe goes in the direction of Evolve, I doubt that the players will just pack up and leave, especially now after 4 years of development.